You gotta stand and fight like a man. Then you.
Well, now I'm here in New York, headed over to Anansi Studios, and just making sure I'm not being followed. Yeah. Miss Lucas.
Hey, Tavolta.
Good to see
What's
you,
up?
man.
Good to see you. Let's go this way.
Awesome. It's cold out there.
I grew up in the Bahamas, but I'm originally from St. Lucia, and that's where my mom is from. So I consider myself Lucian. So in that same way, the same way that we are from so many different islands, and the Caribbean is just made up of all these different island nations, I think that film and our stories are so scattered. And because of it being scattered, I think that the cinemas can be the glue that brings it all together.
Anansi Studios is distributing a Caribbean classic we're highlighting right now. That movie is called Ring the Alarm. Could you tell us how it came about?
So Ring the Alarm is a film made by a collective of filmmakers in Jamaica, call themselves New Caribbean Cinema. I think there's 6 filmmakers. And they basically had this idea that, rather than sit around and wait for people or money to make films, that they were going to make their own films and they were going to work with each other to make the films. So what they did was basically form a collective where they were each other's crew. And they helped each other during filming, and they helped each other in post-production. They came up with these 7 amazing short films that they then put together in a collection called Ring the Alarm. They're individual stories, but they're woven, there's a transition that's the same from story to story.
Gotcha.
So you get glimpses of different aspects of Caribbean storytelling from these films.
And they all take place on the island of Jamaica.
Yes. And when they originally formed the group, my understanding was that they wanted to do this in every Caribbean island. So this first attempt was in Jamaica, but then they were going to move to, let's say, St. Lucia, for example, and gather together, filmmakers in a similar manner to come up with these stories, put them together. Still hoping to see something like that come out of the Caribbean.
Right. Carolwood, right? Carolwood is this idea of storytelling in the Caribbean. Our own myths and legends. Much like how Hollywood storytelling was founded on American myths and legends. I like the name Anansi because it's a myth and a legend. It's the trickster tale that you can find in all Caribbean countries. How important is our shared stories in manifesting Carolwood?
Anansi is a representation of the master storyteller, and that's the oral tradition. Then that is, as Africans or as descendants of Africans, that's what we're good at, telling stories. So you take that storytelling craft or genius and you put it to film, give it a visual expression, and that's what you have with Anansi. And in terms of Carolwood and a Caribbean perspective on films, I see the unique way in which Caribbean people tell stories with the humor and the trickiness, as embodied fully by Anansi. That is going to become what is unique about the Caribbean way of telling films and underpin this Carolwood. If you live in Jamaica, you should be able to see a Trinidadian film. It's a good film, you should be able to look at it. But part of that is infrastructure. The other part is the people themselves, and opening them up to seeing the value and seeing, and wanting to go to see a film from another Caribbean country. Some of us can be very clannish and cling to our own. So there's also an attitude that you have to deal with.
Right.
That represents a lack of interest in things that are not. That's a very nationalistic attitude, which is good, but at the same time it can harm a developing industry.